Howdy, everyone. It's Sunday night. It's 10 p.m. It's got to be the APAT show for about the 412th episode running. Lee, Sunday night, we have a very special guest in the studio. Who do we have?
We do have a very special guest. Well, the APAT show Bok has worked in full effect this week, Des, because we have a guy on that has been absolutely crushing leaderboard ladders for week after week after week. I mean, I've been giving him tickets left, right, and centre. He's had a nightmare week this week because he was coming on the show. So yeah, he's had one cash all week. So we've absolutely killed it. But obviously, we all know we tried to get Brendan on a couple of weeks ago. Had a few tech problems, but obviously the star of the APAT show team at the UK Team Championship went the furthest, finished fourth on the final table. Warm welcome to the show, Brendan. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, Lee. And that's great. Apart from the Bocking, obviously.
Oh, I can't believe it.
We properly did it. You've been killing our budget for the last few months. Absolutely flying. He's a step fiver. He is a step fiver, but he was 43rd on the leaderboard going into today. And I'm guessing you've not hit anything tonight, Brendan. Or are you still playing in anything?
No. The big fat duck egg tonight.
Oh, so he's going to drop down to step 4. He's not going to know what to do.
Well,
it's going to be like a whole new world for him.
It's not all bad, Lee. It's good for us, not so good for Brendan. But it's lovely to have you on, Brendan. It's going to be lovely to sort of talk to you as you're going through this pain of seeing your level slip one for next week's activities. How are you keeping, my friend?
I'm great, Des. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Listen, you had a cracking, and I mean a cracking performance in Nottingham just, 4 weeks ago? I mean, it doesn't seem like 4 weeks, but it's flying time. Is part of the winning team, the APAT show team, odd as that seems for Lee and I. Tell us about your weekend. How did you find the whole thing?
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. It really was. To be honest, when Paul called me, contacted me about going on the team, I was very apprehensive about, around the whole lockdown thing and coming back and being in a room full with 300 people or whatever. But I mean, thoroughly enjoyed it when I got there. So obviously the result certainly helps. But aside from that, it was like we never away, to be honest, with all the mad APAT patters. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like that, Brendan, didn't it? I mean, like you, a little bit apprehensive going back. That was certainly the first poker event that I had attended since crikey, for two odd years.
Yeah, same for me.
Didn't take long though. Didn't take long in the room to have it feel sort of somewhat like normal, and it was lovely to see.
Des was hugging and kissing people within 5 minutes.
I was straight in there. It was just nice to see people. And you always had this fear, right? We discussed this many times on the APAT show over the last 2 years. You had this sort of fear that handshakes weren't going to come back, that there was going to be some sort of hybrid greeting, was the fist bump or whatever it was, and that actually the thought of actually giving somebody a quick hug, how are you, that was going away for sure. But actually that wasn't the case at all. Now, I haven't heard of any issues of any sort coming out of the event. So who knows? Maybe that's something that we can all be sort of optimistic about going forward. But Brendan, look, the social side apart, and it was a wonderful sort of social affair. You guys went on and won the whole thing. I mean, how did that work? Team event. You've been part of many teams, of course, in APAT team events over the years. But, how did you find your experience in this one in particular? And you also had a very, very deep run from an individual point of view.
The whole thing, once you get a deep run, yourself, like getting to a final table is always a lot of fun.
Hang on, Brendan. This is Des Duffy you're talking to. Sorry, final table.
Final table. What's that, mate?
But actually, funnily enough, I was all in before I even reached Nottingham because I was arriving cutting it fine, arriving Saturday morning into Birmingham Airport, and so we were coming in to land at Birmingham. And sort of just before you expect to hear the thud of tires hitting the tarmac, the plane accelerated again and took back to the skies. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Jesus, this is not good. It was very windy, let's be honest. But I thought to myself, I'm just going to throw us in Glasgow or something. I'm not going to make this. So to actually even make Nottingham on time, was a bit of a relief, to be honest with you.
Oh, there you go. There you go, guys. Brendan Byrne was all in before he even reached Nottingham. So we're going to come back to Brendan. There's going to be a lot of talk to do because clearly not going to be playing much poker this evening by the sound of it. But Lee, before we do that, what are the guys playing tonight? What are the stakes like at the top of the leaderboard? Who's in the running?
So we are week 51 of leaderboard ladders. I should tell you that actually after week 52, I am going to kind of shuffle up the deck a little bit with some of the tournaments on a weekly basis. More about that in the next couple of weeks to let you guys know about. But yeah, so it is week 51. Matthias Detters from Germany is currently top of the leaderboard going into
nice job
to this day. Nicholas Hawkins from the UK, Matty Ogilvy, Tony Ross is back with a vengeance, currently fourth in the leaderboard going into today. But yeah, they're playing the usual 4 on a Sunday night. So the deep stack had 59 runners tonight. David Martin from Germany won that. He beat Kenny from Sweden. Heads up, Kenny's surname Kenny Hermansson, and Dominic Ginders from Austria was third in that. Now the main event, bit of a for Brendan here, because we got 7 left in the main event, 62 runners playing top 11, and 2 of Brendan's teammates, Tom Bacon and the skipper himself, Paul Simon, Bridge Over Troubled Water fame, is
we're going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee. Sorry, I'm here all week.
So
sorry, Lee. Carry on.
Paul is currently 5th of the 7 remaining. Tom is 7th of the 7. But I wanted to get that shout out in before they'll probably both bust in the next 5-10 minutes or so. But we'll keep an eye on that one anyway. PLO Championship tonight. 28 runners in that, paying top 5. We're down to 7 in that. And the Turbo tonight started at 9 o'clock. We've got 61 runners in that, paying top 11. So we'll keep you all posted as usual. Always the way. We get all the exits done, get all the leaderboards worked out. Although Brendan's very good, he knows his own score. He's got little calculator thing on the go, and he knows what's going on with his own scores every week. But we'll keep you all posted and let you know who ends up top of the leaderboard and is picking up the tickets for the week. Fantastic.
I have to say, he looks very relaxed there, Lee, doesn't he? Is it any wonder he's been crushing APAT online events over the last 2 odd years? 2 odd years. I mean, how far back does Brendan go as far as crushing is concerned? But he looks very comfortable there, doesn't he? Looks at home in that chair.
He was. On that final table that we're watching there, Kenny has just knocked out Peter Shaw. So Kenny, I mentioned just a minute ago, he actually finished 2nd in the deep stack earlier on. So is on for 2 final tables tonight. Which is a superb effort.
Yeah, nice going, Kenny. Well, listen, Lee, there's a bunch, and I mean a bunch. There's hundreds. There's literally hundreds of people out there just watching in at the moment. If they're not watching tonight, they'll be watching tomorrow, and so on. If you guys want a shout out, just say hello in the chat box, right? We'll give you a shout out. But some people have already done that. Trish is there. Paul Haycock's there. Paul says, "Evening all, loving the shirt, big man." So Brendan is, of course, rocking what I might call a day one APAT show shirt. Would that be right, Brendan? Because obviously seriously, you guys had a Jerome Taylor with multi-day outfits.
That is correct. The day one shirt, yeah.
It's a day one shirt. A bit of a collectible, that. One Mr. Simon Allen is there, also a member of the UK Team Championship 8. He said, "Thank you for rescuing me. I just somehow ended up listening to Matt Hancock on a podcast before turning it off in favour of you guys." Quite right. Matt Hancock over us? I don't think so. Simon says, "Brendan, what a gent." Quite right too. Brendan is indeed a gent. Special shout out for Freddie Dealing. Freddie is on the line. He's watching it, I assume, from Germany. Freddie does travel around, but I assume he's in Germany. So good to have you on board tonight, Freddie. And there's a bunch. I mean, there is a bunch. There's a lot of people there. Mr. Clark is there. That cheeky fecker. He said, "I'd rather we heard the sound of silence from Des." Well, it's a very dark tune, Tom, but I'll do that for you. Maybe a little later. Craig McInnes is there, right? Craig, who's never done the sound of silence in his entire life, says, "Hello, Brendan. How are you, buddy? Hope you are well." And on. Peter Wigglesworth. "Evening, Brendan." Frank Bailey. Frank Bailey, what a legend of the Irish game. Have a great show, Brendan, Des, and Lee. So thank you, guys. Lovely to have you all there and playing. Now, Lee, look, we might as well get into it early, right? We might as well get into it early. There's been a bit of a thread going on the APAT group this evening in relation to structures and buy-ins. I guess some of the starting position that we've adopted for the start of season 14. Of course, season 14 enters at quite a sort of a hairy time, if you like, for poker in the UK. We want to touch on some of those points. Obviously, we're going to go away. We're going to talk about some of this stuff, maybe come back, post those discussions. But we want to touch on some of this stuff tonight. So, why don't I chuck it over to you for a starter? I'll join in as appropriate. Brendan, I'm sure we'll have opinions on this stuff as well. And, you guys, here's your chance to ask your questions, to pitch in, to give some points of view. Do so. Don't be shy. Let's get involved in the discussion. So, Lee, season 14, a couple of the key changes. Some changes in structure. We saw that in Nottingham. That's going to be repeated in London at our next event, first weekend in April. Some of those changes involve a rebuy opportunity for players stemming from a day one online, if you like. Can you give us a little bit of the thinking, little bit around what we're expecting to come out of that, and we'll go from there. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, what I would say first of all is that those type of threads that we've seen in the last 24 hours on the Facebook group is exactly what APAT's all about. We don't shy away from these discussions with the community, whether it was on the forum in days gone by or on the Facebook group now. We're there, and I think you pretty much said as such, Des, on that group that we very much listen to what people have to say, and everybody's got everyone's got a view and an opinion, and quite right too, because at the end of the day, you guys come along and support APAT events and have done for many years. This particular sort of where we're at now with season 14, and we made it very clear that London was a bit of a test kind of event, trying a slightly new structure, new way of doing things with an online day one, and the opportunity to have a re-entry on a different day. I guess it's whether it's going with the times or whether it's just a case of that's just where poker's gone to now. We want to try and always make sure we're giving the best possible experience for players. So online day ones kind of work because it gives people a chance to guarantee a day two without having the expense in advance, and then they can make the trip for that. And offering multiple day one entries again for those that have traveled and are committing to a weekend of poker, again, it kind of feels okay for them. Now, it is a step away from where we've been. We're not saying it's where we're going to end up, certainly at even in the next event later on in this season or seasons after that. But we're going to give it a try and see what happens. We'll listen to what the players have to say, and say that thread is a good start to that. It may be that when we talk to people in London as well who are actually at the event and have experienced it and gone, well, actually, yes, it's worked for me. I'm sure we'll get at least a 50-50 on it, on people that have said it's great for them and not. We had some feedback from the UK team championship, which was people didn't enjoy the weekend. There weren't many, but there were some that didn't. So we take those on board and listen. But that's pretty much where we're at with it. Nothing is set in stone, but we're gonna give this a try for this particular event. It's not a championship event. We make that quite clear. This is not how we're pitching this. It's not a title. Yes, we'll have APAT medals up for grabs, but it's not one of our kind of English or Welsh or Scottish or Irish championships or anything like that. It's more of a regional tournament. Get us back into the mix of live, because the team event was a bit of a kind of a standalone. We always knew we were going to get the numbers in for there, and people were going to turn up, and it was going to be a packed room. And we're going to see how this one goes and move on from there. But that's kind of my initial view on it.
I mean, what I would add to that, guys, and I think you don't always sort of see this side of it. You sort of know it's happening because it's evident, but it isn't always part of the discussion. Is that the UK poker landscape has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. I think there's a ton of enthusiasm from the players to come back. So that's a very, very healthy place for the landscape to be. But unfortunately, the country has lost its dealing resource. So, dealers have stopped dealing, obviously, as the card rooms all closed. They've gone off and done other things. And we're now in a position whereby the card rooms are trying to refurnish their dealing staff. They're trying to train them. They're trying to retain them. They're not in an ideal window because generally a lot of new dealing staff will come through, universities, summer breaks, that sort of stuff. And of course, poker has come back pretty much at the turn of the year, so it's not an ideal time in that respect. And of course, what that means is that while DTD were able to staff up as best they could for our event 4 weeks ago in Nottingham, there's no doubt we could have brought many more players there. There's no doubt we could have had more tournaments on over the weekend. But, as Danny Strange and the 40 people who stood behind him will tell you on the Saturday night, there just wasn't the dealing staff there to be able to meet the demand. And if that's the sort of challenge that Dusk Till Dawn is having, can you imagine the sort of challenge that, some of the other casinos who, would see poker very much as maybe their second, maybe their third product versus casino versus, ordinary entertainment and stuff like that. The challenge that they're having and the drive that they're willing to, to bring to the table to sort these problems out, maybe not as much, maybe it's not as high up their priority list. In which case, from a pure commercial point of view, and unfortunately it does cost money, somebody's got to pay the dealers, right? Just from a pure commercial point of view, it's harder to get the sort of deals that we would like to do done, right? That's just the reality. So, for a little period of time, we're going to have to rock and roll a bit, right? We have to work with our partners, and they've been very good partners for us over the last 16 odd years. We're going to have to work a little bit with them for a short period of time until we sort of get back into stock of people, if you like, staff, people to run these events. The casinos get their confidence back, get a little bit of appetite back for poker. And then I think it's easier to come at this from a much more APAT direction, if you like. But we made a definite decision at the start of the season that we wouldn't run amateur championship events during this period, because the last thing that we want to do is to dilute our USP, in terms of our structures, in terms of our freeze outs and stuff like that, during a period where actually we'd end up bashing our heads against, some pretty firm walls, and that at a time when all of you guys were asking us to put on events. When is the next APAT event coming? So I think we're all between a little rock and a hard place here. I think it'd be much appreciated from, our team if you guys could show a little patience during this period. But trust, we haven't forgotten where we've come from. I mean, we're 15 years of running APAT in a specific way. We haven't forgotten that overnight. So that would be where I'm coming from. But I will say, what you've seen in London, it didn't sort of happen overnight, right? There was a lot of, very challenging discussions, both within APAT and outside of APAT, to end up with that particular event. It's not a championship event, but it is an event. And I would hope that a number of you will take advantage and come and play. But if not, we'll see you down the track at another one in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much fair to say. I think there was a few elements in that thread. Obviously, comments and discussions around the re-entry kind of position, and a number of comments around the buy-in. I mean, what I would say on the buy-in point of view, I mean, back in 2006, some crazy guy had the idea of not charging a reg fee for these 2-day deep stack tournaments, that he was only going to charge £75 for players to get to play. We've moved on from there. But what I would say about, if you go back to 2006 to that £75 buy-in, we've been at £75 for a long time. If you actually put the rate of inflation year on year, from 2006 right up. I am the sad sort of geek that does this kind of stuff. You actually get to, to today's, right, that £75 in today's money is £105. Now, I'm not saying that, that's a calculation of the way to do this or whatever, but just to put it into terms of genuinely kind of what the value of money, how that's moved in the last 15 years. So that, there's a kind of an appreciation that these things do go up, whereas all of the costs associated with the tournament, so the dealers and the floor staff and the costs of the venue and everything else are going up like that. We've always been at a fixed a kind of a fixed amount, and try to keep our registration fees as low as we can to make it affordable for players to rock up to. And the same time as that's all been going on, your other forms of entertainment, because let's be honest, an APAT weekend, we want it to be a form of entertainment and a social side and all of that. So anything else you would choose to do in that kind of field has all gone up. It just naturally has done without a huge amount going on. We've always tried to keep it as pinned back as we can. Not always easy to do. And sometimes we have to make some tough decisions to make it viable to actually get an event on. As Des says, it's a tough landscape at the moment, not just for ourselves but for everybody that's trying to get poker back switched on live. But we will get there with it, and we will do that by listening to you guys as well as to what works and what doesn't work, and trying to make a balanced decision on what's best for APAT and the community moving forward.
I would add, Des, as somebody who's sat both sides of the table, we are at the very, very difficult price point for poker tournaments. So I see a lot of Irish events coming on around about the 100-150 mark. And they're getting lots of complaints about, the rake is like 25%. The problem is that when you're running these low buy-in events, there's a minimum amount it's going to cost to run the event. So as a result, they're probably the most expensive event to run, in as much as there's only a certain amount you can charge your sitting down clients to fund that event. So it's difficult, very difficult.
It is difficult.
The way to look at it, Brendan, is that you take a 100 plus 20 two-day event and a 1,000 plus 200, or maybe a 1,000 plus 150 two-day event.
Yeah,
both actually cost exactly the same amount of money to put on for a venue. Yet one is going to actually generate them fees of maybe 10%, maybe 20% of the other one. You're spot on. We are at that point where we're offering as best quality tournaments as we can, but for the venue and it's absolutely at that kind of that pinch point for them as to making it a viable one for them to put on.
I see in the Mammoth, which is I think it's a PokerStars link, but it's an event that's coming up in Dublin soon. And it's it's sort of similar to an APAT price point, and it's around about 150 quid, but there's 50k guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now, these guys ran that event a couple of years back and had an overlay of 25k.
Wow.
But when they announced, undeterred, they've announced it again post lockdown in this very uncertain times. And they got flamed all over social media because people were saying, well, is this the way it is now for these events where rake is going to be 25% of tournament entry? And I don't often get involved in these conversations, but that one really vexed me. I'm thinking to myself, here's a group of people taking a chance, taking a risk, putting a lot of work into putting this tournament together in very, very uncertain times, and putting on a 50k guarantee where they've been stung at that price level before. And the only conversation that's generated out of it all is, well, it's 25% rake. What the hell is going on?
Yeah,
I just don't understand it. I really don't.
It's true. It's true. I suppose one way that you could look at an APAT, and I know this is we've never asked people to look at it this way before, but if you consider that obviously with a 120 price point at Aspers, I guess 100 of that obviously goes into the prize pool. That's the players' money. They will divide it as they see fit, effectively at the end of the event, and walk away. So the price of the entertainment, the 2 days of entertainment, dealer dealt tables, etc., is like 20 quid, which from a percentage point of view is horrific. Right? No, 20%, that's awful. But actually it's £20, which, if you were going out, well, in fact, if you're going to the bar, £20 is nothing, right? It goes super quickly, which doesn't make the discussion any easier. But from our point of view, it's like we're trying our best, right? Believe me, I'm not getting that back carpet in the Ferrari. It's just not happening. So, players will vote with their feet. If they don't want to come, they won't come. But obviously, then APAT will disappear. And, that'll be okay. If that's what players want, that'll be fine. But you've got to sometimes you just got to take a step back and sort of say, right, what am I getting for the £20? You're getting the community element. You're also getting sort of 2 days, a good event, very professionally ran. We'll continue to keep our standards well up. So that's worth bearing in mind. And also, clearly our partner is Party Poker. We have a core group of players who support us magnificently on Party Poker. And at the end of the day, without Party Poker, we don't get to pay for the fact that 2 or 3 of us might go into a hotel. Everybody knows we don't spend a lot of money on drink and stuff like that, right? That isn't what we do. So we keep our expenses to a bare minimum. Without the sport of party, we don't get to do that. APAT falls away. So, if you're part of this thread and if you're asking these questions, please also ask yourself how you're supporting APAT online. Because I know a bunch of players are, but I also know there's a bunch of players who will only play live with us. So, it's give and take. We're a community organization. That has always been give and take. Right? There's always been an element of that. So, bear that in mind too, I would say to the players. Now, we've got some really interesting comments out there. So let me put one up on the screen. This is Simon Allen. Simon says, completely understand from a commercial point of view what you're saying, Des. I think what would help the long-standing players to hear is what your ideal might be going forwards. Well, I mean, look, my thoughts on that, Simon, and I'll pitch this over to Lee as well, is that we have a really good history of listening to what our members say. So, we're watching this thread, we're hearing what you're saying. We've also heard what you said in Nottingham, a lot of which was very, very positive. The structure here is very, very similar. And we'll sort of do what I would always expect us to do, and that is once we go through London, we'll very much look at the feedback, look at the experience, talk to players over that weekend, because I think we're good at doing that, and we'll make some decisions going forward sort of based on that, but also a little based on the market conditions. So as the market conditions begin to change, then obviously it gives us far greater power to do the sort of things that we want to do. Lee, do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to actually say for definite exactly what you ideally would want it to be moving forward at the moment, because I think things have changed, and it's going to be heavily reliant on what we can get out of venues in the way of capacities and availability of resources to actually put on events. I mean, all I ever envisage when we look to put together a structure for an APAT weekend or a full APAT season is looking to make sure that we give the players the best possible poker experience we can. We want them to come away from a poker weekend win, and bear in mind, 80% of the players that will turn up for an APAT weekend won't cash in the main event. So we want to make sure that it's not just about those people that that cash, that come away going, what a great weekend it was, that others feel the same way about it. And so that's making sure that you give best value for money. We don't want it to be kind of a crapshooty turbo, but at the same time, we also can't be in a situation where we're playing till 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're asking dealers to then come back at at midday for another 16-hour shift. I mean, Brendan will tell you, because Brendan's been on the other side of it and dealing, is there's only so many hours in a day you can deal, and you need to get your rest in between. It's dealing poker is a really stamina inducing thing to do. It's such a tough thing to do. I wouldn't want to do that day in, day out at a festival. We ask a lot of our venues and the staff that work for our venues, because we have high expectations and we want to give the best possible thing we can, and it's always ensuring we keep the balance. So I think, as you say, Des, we will continue to listen to people and look to do put the best experience together we can for our players to enjoy the weekend. That's the most important. That is the most important thing.
Lee, I've got some more questions coming through. Let me throw these over to you. So next up we have Tom Clark. Great comments, Des. I do think the online day one is a good idea, especially with day two being a guaranteed cash. Can you tell us a little bit behind the thinking there, Lee?
Yes, so we wanted, again, it's looking at player experience and thinking, well, okay, could we get a situation where there's nothing worse than bagging up for a day two and then coming back for a day two and just missing out on the money. So we've seen with other events that have trialed being in the money at a day two, and we've looked at our structure and we think we can make that work within our structure. And to do that, so again, we're gonna trial it. It means that if you decide to play the online day one and get through, you already know you've got a min cash for the Sunday in London. So say we're gonna trial that and see if that works. If that's pleasing to the players and they find it that's a good thing to do. I know certainly when I play online day ones, the thought of knowing that I'm already making the money is a good thing. Because it kind of means I know my costs are covered, and then I can go into the day two and give it a good crack to see whether you can get to the high end of the cash. But it's as simple as that. It's it just feels like it's, again, giving players a little bit more flexibility on what they do. So we'll trial it, see how it works. It's only received good feedback from other tournaments that have had that type of structure, but it may be that it doesn't work for APAT. But until we try it, we'll not
never know. We've got some feedback from Simon Allen Lee. I honestly think the structure and the rebuys are more of an issue from the more traditional APAT players than the buy-ins. So maybe it's more about structure than it is the physical buy-in.
Well,
Tris,
I think just on the buy-in thing, we've seen certainly before COVID that more and more players were just buying in to tournament, weren't even satelliting in, just wanted to, were buying in to play the tournament. So we are aware that kind of for a lot of players, and not for everybody, appreciate it's not, it's not necessarily in an affordable bracket for everybody, but which is why we still run satellites and offer the cheaper ways of getting in and working your way through. And I know plenty of our players enjoy trying to get in for pennies if they can. But I think Simon is right there. It's about finding that balance. And that all stems from getting players feeling like they're getting value for money.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I got my money's worth in my poker tournament, whether you make the cash or not. But I feel like I got my value out of it and enjoyed the day. Yeah, that's what we're aiming to do.
I have to say, on the value for money front for players, Tris makes a very good point here. Yeah, but when has Des taken £20 to the bar before? Which I think is a fair comment. We'll move on quickly, Lee. I've got Tom Clark here. Make sure you get an Asper's card before going to the bar. Gets you 10% off.
Des apparently has got 10 of those. Does that mean
I've got a few of those.
Free? Is that how it works?
Listen, I've got 10 of them, Lee. They're all in APAT players' names, right? So I've already got a Tom Clark one. So Tom, when you turn up at the door and they tell you you've already got one, please don't give me in. Simon comes back. 100% agree about the rake. I honestly don't have an issue with £20 rake for a well-run professional tournament. That is generous. Simon also says, I think it's incredibly refreshing to see and hear you guys talk openly and honestly about all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've always been open. So I guess that's where we are at the moment, guys. Please feed other questions too. We're happy to talk. But for sure, the most important message is we're super open, right? We're always open. We're always listening. And we're always evolving.
And we're constantly in discussion at the moment with with venues, and you'll all know how things have changed. You only have to go into your local casino in the UK at the moment and see what they're offering in the way of poker, and a lot of them there's not a huge amount. Genting pulled out of the industry. Grosvenor pulled right back on what they have with their kind of local tournaments, which are starting to switch on a little bit now. But most of their dealers are focusing on the GUKPT tours and the 25/25s and that kind of thing. Rainbow stopped poker. Alia aren't doing anything. Even kind of Aspers is only just switching back on with London. Newcastle is a slower one to do. Even Dusk Till Dawn, which was amazing a couple of weeks back. And we will get back to talk to Brendan a bit more about that in a moment. But even that, you talk to the guys there, and they said, "Yeah, I had a conversation. They're training, 5 dealers a week that they're getting in and running them through, and these things take time to get up to speed, to get to the level they're at. I mean, you deal, Brendan. So how long does it take? How many hands would you say you need to deal before you say people are at a level where they would be a competent dealer in kind of an APAT style tournament? It's not something you just pick up overnight, is it?
No, it's it's tough. Like, I had the advantage of starting from a position where I knew the game pretty well, so and had spent a lot of time around tables and dealing with people. So it, how you have to deal with the people, and then of course you're thrown into a very high pressure situation, and some players are not that nice to dealers. Might come as a surprise to people, but some people are not nice, so it just adds to the pressure of dealing to people. I found at the very start that the moving table was always, you let's say you had a tough time at a table, you maybe made a mistake or two. Moving to the next table sort of reset the clock, if you like, and you were able to sort of get yourself out of that pressure situation. But sometimes when it's really busy, that doesn't happen. You're stuck at the same table for 3 hours maybe. It can be tough. So depending on the individuals, obviously, like I noticed there was a lot of new dealers in Dusk Till Dawn there recent at the team event. They were all very good, I have to be honest with you. They really were. I was expecting it to be, pretty bad. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, some of the places I've seen the worst dealers has been at the World Series of Poker.
Yeah.
But I mean, for obvious reasons, let's be honest, it's the one place where you have the most dealers, concentrated amount of dealers in one place at one time. So I suppose it stands to reason that it's where you're going to see the worst dealers.
Yeah, which is ironic.
But even the World Series, for obviously the November one that just ran. I mean, to get the dealers that they needed for that event, they closed down a number of the other poker rooms within the Caesars portfolio, so they could pull all the staff in, because normally they would have plenty of dealers, and Vegas would be buzzing. Every single card room would be rammed for the series. That just wasn't the case. Even in Vegas, just wasn't the thing.
There was added problems there as well, because it was like still in full COVID swing at that time too. So it surprised me. Running that World Series of Poker really surprised me. People entering it really surprised me. I mean, I couldn't understand, guys going over there and paying like 10K, even more entry fees, in the full knowledge that if I catch COVID, my money's gone.
Yeah, it's mad.
Aside from
when you put it like that.
So on top of the gamble of actually playing the tournament, okay, a lot of those lads going into them are going to have high expectations, and their EV is going to be good going in. But then you add COVID on top of that, it's definitely negative EV for pretty much most of the field, right?
No, absolutely. Listen, on the dealer front, a question coming in from Tom. Was the difficulty with sourcing dealers the reason why there's only No Limit events in London, Lee? Let me throw that to you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've had plenty of discussions with the venue, and it's a case of obviously they run mixed games on their cash tables, and so they've got a number of dealers that can do that. They're not going to pull those dealers away from the cash tables playing mixed games to deal a tournament. That's for sure. And the view was that we wouldn't be able to guarantee that we'd have enough trained dealers that would be able to play even something like a PLO game. So for this first one back, we've just decided to just play it safe and just make sure that we can ensure that you're going to get a good quality tournament. Last thing we want is just to put on a PLO event, get a bunch of newbie dealers that are still learning that game. They might be have dealt No Limit Hold'em quite a bit, but actually haven't dealt Omaha. And again, I can put it to Brendan, how much of a complexity is the difference? I can't even work out the pot. When someone says pot, how much I'm supposed to bet. So I'm not. So I'm forever reliant on the dealer to be able to do that. So it's putting them in an awkward situation.
Dealing PLO is a nightmare. Most dealers you'll get a lot of dealers. There's good money dealing cash games. You'll only be allowed to deal cash games at these poker festivals if you can deal PLO, because it's a straight up push, and the next table might be a PLO table, so you have to be able to deal PLO. So as a result, I would say 80% of dealers don't deal PLO.
Wow,
it's
is
scary
it really
stuff.
That high? Goodness
scary
me.
stuff.
Wow.
Scary stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Listen, a question coming in from David Clark on YouTube. Believe it or not, can you enlarge the screen? Well, we can't at the moment, David, but I tell you what, after Aspers, we'll review it. There you go. We have another one.
Am I filling too much of that screen?
Oh, I tell you what, a bigger screen. The rake on that. Triplin is telling us, tell you what, there's no way I could deal. The attitude and behavior I've seen from some guys has been shocking. So I'm not sure specifically what he's referring to there, whether that was something that he saw in Nottingham. You'll always get one or two. I mean, for sure, that is a fact. And unfortunately, the dealer inevitably has to sit there and grin and bear it, as it were, which isn't.
Can I ask? Because I'm assuming, Brendan, you must have been on the receiving end of some stuff over the years, whilst dealing. I mean, do you take it personally? Is it something? Are you able to just go, just like bat it away, or does it sit in your head? Especially if maybe it's a little mistake you've made or something. Because hey, we're all human, so mistakes can happen. But I know poker players tend to not let these things go. And obviously you can't verbally necessarily retaliate as such, because that's not really the right thing.
It's probably hard for me to give judgment on that, because I kind of like that scenario. I'm a bit of a narcissist, to be honest with you. So look, I don't know. So my theory with dealing came from what I learned while I was playing, and some of the transgressions I don't like are probably some of the ones that I made a lot myself, which like berating other players or things like that, which I worked hard to try and get out of my game. But you still see a lot of that. That's some of the stuff that I come down the hardest on as a dealer. A lot of dealers just take the path of least resistance, to be honest with you. I'm a bit anal with stuff, so I had one guy said to me one time, "You're doing your job too much."
What does that even mean?
Look the other way occasionally.
Yeah, in other words, I should let some things slide, I suppose. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So, letting things slide it's definitely not Brendan, to be honest with you, So.
Oh no.
No. That's not necessarily. I'm not saying that like it's a good thing either.
It's not good. There you go. The trials and tribulations of a dealer. This is more of an admin question, Lee, and this may be on me. I'm not quite sure. Talking of Aspers, I've just looked on the APAT website. Can't find any details on the event yet. That might have been because we were waiting. We were waiting for certain things to be confirmed.
We're just waiting on Party to confirm the online day one, and then all the details will go. We announced it on the Facebook group, so it was there. But yeah, it'll be going up as an event. We're just waiting on confirmation of the buy-in protocol, and then we'll get that up, because they'll obviously will be holding tanks on Party as well. So we just wanted to make sure all that information was up, and us putting part of story up on the on the website. So we're giving everybody on the Facebook group a little bit of a heads up that it's happening, and then it'll go live, and it will then be mailed out to all of the membership as well. So so.
It's coming.
Don't forget it is. Yeah, and don't forget the days are capped. Even the online day one will have a cap on it. Because there's only a certain number that we can accommodate for the day 2 if necessary. So everything is going to have a cap on it, and certainly the live day ones on the Friday and the Saturday will very much be capped. But I mean, what I would say about Aspers, Stratford, if you've not been, I mean, it's a fantastic venue. So much to do around there as well for a weekend. So whether it's poker or whatever, it's right bang slap on the top floor of the Westfield Shopping Centre, just with the Olympic Park opposite. Hopefully, I haven't double checked, but I'm hoping West Ham aren't playing at home that weekend. But maybe they will be. I haven't even looked at that one, to be honest. Okay. But loads to do. Really looking forward to heading back to London for an event.
Lee. I'm super keen. So coming out of Nottingham, we had a little play with something in Nottingham, as we tend to do, right? Event, we tend to play with little things and think, oh, what could we do with that? I'm coming out of Nottingham. I'm super excited to test something. We're going to need a volunteer or two at Aspers, and that would be this. Do you remember this Scouse Cam that we ran? Let me just put this up. Yes, Scouse Cam. Let me put this up. Oh shit! Maybe it won't even play. Oh, there we go. There he is. Right. So there's Scouse. We've got a little camera on him, so he can show us his cards. And what this gives us is sort of a player view, right? Just one player. So it's not like you're seeing all of the players' whole cards. So there's still a lot of jeopardy in terms of how a hand might play out, even if Scouse looks at a couple of kings.
I'm all in. I'm all in.
Oh, no. What?
Were they suited? I'm all in.
Anyhow, I think we should look for somebody to get staking right into the Aspers event. Maybe one of the guys in the thread, right, who get staked into the event. We get 10 or whatever people to buy them in, and then we'll follow them throughout the event. I think that could be fun. It could be interesting.
Would be very good indeed. Yeah,
and we're going to charge a 20% rake on that, Lee. Straight in there.
That seems 20% seems reasonable.
20% was straight.
Apparently West Ham are at home to Everton on the Sunday at 2:00. So
that's a 6-pointer.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
Let me go again. West Ham are at home on Sunday to Frank Lampard's Everton. Sorry, to give them their full title. Oh
dear. No, I think it'll be fine.
I mean, who are vying for relegation?
They're trying hard, Lee.
They're trying really hard, aren't they? At the moment, it's giving it a good go.
They've got about 3 games in hand, but they can get through those, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're really making hard work of it, aren't they?
Listen, Simon is out there, and he said, I kind of convinced myself I couldn't make it to Aspers. Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to ask for a pass. So yeah, come. I mean, Aspers is a great venue to play poker in, I have to say. Should
just give a little bit of love, because we have got the table on here, and it is they are heads up, and it's Kenny Hermansson from Sweden, who, as I say, finished second in the deep stack earlier on tonight, and is heads up currently against Davidson Diaz from Brazil. Fairly even stacks here, actually. Heads up. Paul Haycock finished third in the end, picking up just over $300. So very well done to Paul. Cracking effort from him. The PLO is also heads up. There's an Irish player, chip leader on that, Des. Dennis O'Kane is currently heads up against Nico Pakalin from Finland. So
I'm sorry about that, Dennis. Irish players don't tend to win on here because I've been calling for them every night for 413 consecutive Sundays. We just can't get over the line, Lee. I don't know what it is. With the exception of Brendan, we just haven't seen success anywhere. Maybe Frank. A little bit of Frank.
No, Brendan knows how to play the leaderboard ladders.
He's a pro.
That's for sure.
It's a lot like the team event, isn't it?
Yeah. You can't win it in one night, can you? Just gotta hit it every. Just every time you get involved, score some points. That's the secret. Don't go out.
Did you change your? I mean, how much did your game change once? Because obviously, I mean, we've played on the show in the past few weeks the kind of the moment where you guys had it confirmed that you couldn't be beaten as the champagne cork pops across Dusk Till Dawn, nearly took Simon Trumper's eye out. It was there, but at that point, so you were. I want to say we were still about 2 tables out at that point, Brendan. How did your game then change at that point, thinking, right, okay, final table gets paid for the individuals? So what was your thought process at that point once you knew that the team event was sewn up?
At that stage, it was, you'd nearly rather be stood with the rest of them having a drink, to be honest with you. No, it didn't change. It doesn't change really at that point. I think it's hard to get out of the being careful mode, and then of course that then goes into it's the same sort of scenario for ICM anyway. If you like, it's like if you make a mistake, it can be very costly. So it's kind of one and the same thing when you're laddering in the money as when you're laddering for the team. It's really just an extension of that same concept, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, it was interesting. The first change in strategy was when you got a teammate at your table. Yeah. And I mean, it's always great if you can get a teammate to arrive and he's in the big blind when you're like late position and he's got stacks of chips. It's always pretty handy. It's a handy position that you can abuse in your favor.
Yes. How did you? Because there was, so on that day too, you and Jay were sat on the table for a decent chunk of time, weren't you?
Yeah. No, I think I had more time with Tom.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I think I had more time. But Tom arrived at my table first. Then Tom got moved, and then Jay came in. But I think he like busted pretty soon after he arrived at the table. I'm not really too sure. It was a very interesting tournament. I sat in the very same seat until we were down to 3 tables.
Oh, wow.
Which is just unheard of, like totally unheard of. I've never, ever experienced that ever before. So, and then Dusk Till Dawn is fantastic in as much as there's so many screens about the place. You're never too far from a screen to know what's going on and who's where and where everybody is. So in that respect, it's a big help. And then I had a scenario with Tom where he was like, he was late position, I was big blind, and he limped. And I sort of mistakenly figured out that his stack size was pretty much the same as my own. Well, it wasn't really, and I should have just like raised and took the blinds down. I mean, as it happened, I think I won the pot anyway. I just went check. That was an interesting one. He was sort of waiting for me to bet. I wasn't betting because I was thinking, well, we both have the same amount of chips here, so it doesn't really make any difference. As long as we don't, as long as there's no team-on-team violence, we're good.
Yeah,
I had lots of instances where, because obviously Simon Trumper was showing a lot of interest in the tournament, and obviously keeping an eye on the whole thing anyway. But he's at the rail, he's watching stuff going on. He's like, well, I don't understand. Why is this guy doing this and this? And then I'd explain, well, he's on this team and they're currently third. And then right, he says, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, okay, I can see why he did that then. That makes sense. So it's
fantastic.
So, and then there was so we were all using the time bank. So there was a lot of dwelling up, wasting time. When we were down to, like, before the result was pretty clear, we were down to 27 players maybe. But there was one guy on one team. I won't mention team names or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure he called an all in with Queen 6, which was like it cost his team a medal.
Oh no!
I know the team you're talking about.
Right? Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure that the only reason that happened was he just got fed up with people time banking.
Yeah.
But and didn't understand the whole concept of I'm part of a team here. I'm trying to drag a few people into medal positions here. It was horrific now, and like, I have to be honest, like, so how none of his team, well, there may have been a team conversation about it.
Ouch.
But it was really bad. Then when I seen later on that they would have made a medal if he'd have just lasted a couple more hands, it was just.
Well, you
need
get all
patience
sorts
in this one, don't you? But you've played. Obviously, you've represented Ireland. I'm not even sure how many times now, Brenda. So you understand with team events, and sometimes you've got to sit there and grind out a stack for the extra point here or the extra 2 points there, because it can make all the difference between winning a medal or not. And patience in poker is a critical thing anyway. But in these type of team events, it's even more so. It's just there.
Yeah, we've had things like, even in the online team, the prelude to the leaderboard, the squads, wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, the squads. Yeah.
We had similar scenarios in the squads where, like, we've players with really strong hands and betting against teammates, and I'm thinking to myself, like, but my hand is too strong, I can't fold. And like, you're trying to explain that, like, the strength of your hand doesn't really mean that much. This is your teammate's life, tournament life here. It matters more than the fact that you have pocket kings in this scenario, and it's just you and him. It's like
it's a different sort of thought process, Brendan. Different sort of game, right?
It's a great scenario. It really is. Sure, where would you get the John Murray abusing the Welsh team in Dustle Dawn a few years back? I mean,
that particular one, almost every APAT event, that's almost a guaranteed.
Yeah, that was one of my most memorable events, I have to be honest, standing watching John abusing Dan Elston, and Dan Elston, knowing, Dan Elston, who wants to play so many hands, and knowing full well that John has him totally handcuffed, and saying it out loud. What am I going to do here?
Listen, Brendan, we know poker is full of characters, right? You had a few at your table. This bloke was showboating. Check this out.
He pointed to the camera. Oh, he did. He waited to the camera. He waited.
There's not any action on it yet, has he?
He then pointed. I bet he's got a recording at home going on this. He didn't play the cards, he played the camera.
I think Ken McBride was right. I think he did play the camera, Brendan. That was quite funny.
Yeah, that was a good scenario for him, because it can look like, he's only raising because the camera's on.
He took advantage. He'd have taken it all in there, wouldn't he?
What chances is it he has a hand here,
Oh, I know. Listen, some good news, guys. Some good news coming in the chat box. As we know, Natalie Bromley launched her Queen Hearts of Queens. Is that right? Or is it?
Yes.
Hearts of Queens.
Yes.
Hearts of Queens with a love heart, right? She launched it here on the channel last weekend. Had their first event effectively collecting. So looking for the generosity of poker players to provide for good causes in local areas. She had her first event in Manchester at the Flip event, the Fantastic Ladies in Poker today. Not only, according to one Mr. Paul Haycock, not only did they have a super successful event from a good causes donations point of view, but Natalie has gone deep in the event. She's gone on to cash it. So what a great start for Natalie this weekend in Manchester.
Superb.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Good for her. What else have we got here? Let's have a look. There's been a couple of other comments. Peter Wigglesworth has said, played several times at Asper's Stratford. Can highly recommend the card room. And as Lee said, the area itself. There's lots to do there. Peter's also gone on, said he's going to try to get through online for the Aspers event. He loved the Nottingham event. Simon Allen, the Queen Six Hand was madness, which clearly it was. Triplin, I fully understand the team event dynamics, but as long as we don't mention chip dumping at all. There wasn't chip dumping going on, was there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I mean, you got to be careful with that sort of stuff for lots and lots of reasons. Peter also mentions triplet vision for the win. On a serious note, I would be up for backing you at a sensible markup. So I think Trips has put his hand up. He was looking for a 1.5 markup. I don't think we'll be able to help him with that. But, he may be willing to take a bit of stake into the event. And he's got to wear the camera. Did we tell him about the battery? It comes in a suitcase. He's got to carry that around with him. But detail, we'll come back to that. Love that camera raise. So Tristan, obviously, is a fan of the camera stuff. Don't worry, Pete, not selling for an APAT game. Damn, we had him for a moment, and he's just stepped back out on us. We'll see how that goes. So Lee, we must have lost our table. Is that right?
Yeah, we have for a second. I'm just getting it back up now. Just bear with me for a second.
Perfect. You take your time. John Murray, in the style that only John Murray brings, says, just managed to join. Could you rerun the last hour? Where would we start? Where would we start? Because it has been the last hour for the ages, I have to say. But
did somebody tell John we were talking about him?
Yeah, that'll be about right. Yeah,
we've drawn him out, haven't we? We have absolutely drawn him out. Oh.
John was a sad miss at Nottingham.
He was, yeah. And but the timing wasn't for everybody. It wasn't for everybody. But I think there'll be more confidence among people now that the deeper into the year we go. Around the old COVID thing.
How do you guys manage to attract all these fantastic people?
Sorry, fantastic people, Brendan.
Yeah, like in all my years at APAT, it's just always attracted fantastic people.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I mean, there's tons of characters out there.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is they keep coming back, which allows us to get to know them and them us, and that's a fantastic thing. And I've lost count of how many people that I've known well online over the last couple of years that I actually met for the first time in Nottingham. So it's lovely to meet people. Just spent a lot of time walking around and talking to people and trying to get those hugs in, as it were. So yeah, I think once you tend to get into that circle, and we actually draw you out a bit of yourself, you do get to know people well, and they do stand out, which is always nice. Pete is out there, Lee. Have you considered online qualification for the Malta Day 2? I mean, he's not talking about... is he talking about an online Day 1? I assume that is what he's talking about there.
So for the Malta event,
no,
there's not. I don't think there's going to be satellites up because it's part of the Malta Poker Festival as such. So pretty much, I think that's just going to be a case of direct buy-ins only for that particular weekend.
Yeah. Adam Sharples, right? What a bloke, has come into the chat box. Just watch the rerun, John Murray. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow, as I missed a load as well. Well, you didn't miss that. There you are. Adam Sharples, silver medalist in Nottingham. What a great weekend he had.
Yeah, it was a good heads up. That was actually.
It was a very good.
Between him and Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, he took his shot.
He took his shot. You played with both of them on the final table. How did? Obviously, it was a packed final table of kind of APAT stalwarts from years gone by. But how, in particular, Wayne and Adam, how was their play on the final table?
Yeah, it was what you'd expect. Pretty solid, to be honest. Adam got into a pot early on with Dan. Dan put him to the test with a 4-bet all in, I think it was, and with Ace Queen versus Jacks, and Adam reluctantly after a couple of time bank cards made the call, and managed to hold. That set him on his way for the rest of the final table, to be honest with you. Wayne, I put a bit of a beat on Wayne, maybe 2 tables out when so I'm not trying to explain myself or defend any bad play here, but I will share some of my thought process.
Here he comes.
Wayne had been particularly busy for Wayne. Now that turned out, you know, that to not be a new style of play. It turned out just that he was having a run of above average hands. Now, as a result, I defended pretty lightly with like 5-2 of diamonds or something like that against him, blind v blind. And I flopped a flush draw. And I think Wayne checked to me, and I bet it. And he flatted. I think I picked up some more equity on the turn. I'm not 100% sure. But there was something about the way Wayne check raised me that, you know, triggered that maybe he's picking up something about my hand, and now I'm playing the hand rather than the strength of his own hand. So mistakenly then, you know, given that all of that was totally wrong on my part, I got it all in and managed to. And Wayne reluctantly called me, but he did happen to have 2 pair. Well, it seemed like he reluctantly called me. Maybe it was just one of those ones where, yeah, I'm calling, but the physical part lags behind, if you like. Anyway, he calls, and I hit the diamond, obviously, on the river to devastate him. To be honest with you, and it was pretty bad on my part. But look, sometimes I don't know if it's possible to go through a tournament as long as that and not do something stupid. To be honest with you, and then of course you do need the deck to bail you out every now and then. So it was pretty harsh on Wayne, but then I in the end then I doubled them up with my ace king versus his ace 9 or ace 5 or something like that. So I'd like to think that evened it up a little bit.
Well, he's a very even-tempered guy, isn't he, Wayne? So it wouldn't have rattled him, and I dare say it didn't rattle him. And you know, he went on to win it. I think, you know, heads up against Adam. Adam had a decent chip lead. I mean, what's a decent chip lead heads up in any event? But he did have a decent chip lead. And he had 2 sort of shots at the tournament. It didn't work out for him in either case. You know, a little unlucky, clearly. But you know, Wayne was a worthy winner. His record at this event in particular over the years has been super impressive. So you know, good to see him win one. And for Adam, just a matter of time. You know, if he continues to play, you feel he'll get the chance again.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely no question. Good guys. It's hard putting beats on nice guys like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like you feel like, it's not nice.
That's the nature of the game. So let's have a look. So we've got another table up, Lee. What are we looking at now?
It's the final one of the night, which is the PKO Turbo. So we're down to 3 players, and we've just lost Richard Rudling Smith. So we've got 3 left. Matthias Dieters from Germany is on this table, who was our kind of top guy going into leaderboard ladders for the final day. I'm just getting some results in now, so we can get a rough idea whether he's going to have done enough with the points from here tonight to stay top of the leaderboard for the week. So we'll see this play out.
While you're doing that, Lee, just a late comment coming in from Tristan. So I think some of the guys were worried about continuous rebuys, but I think 1 per flight is fine as a starting point. Should top up the prize pool, and let's see how we go. Well, I mean, that's very much our thinking for London, right? That's not the start into a huge escapade into rebuy territory. I don't think that's where any of us want to end up.
No, I don't. I certainly don't want to. We're not talking about, say, rebuys, unlimited, or even entries on the same day. The point is it's just trying to we know costs of poker weekends are going up. So whether you're driving, I mean, fuel prices have gone up, or whether it's hotels or whatever it is. So people are investing quite a lot into coming for a weekend poker. So. And sometimes, there's nothing worse than you're busting early in a tournament and then you're kind of sat, kind of twiddling your thumbs for the rest of the weekend. So being able to have another chance potentially, just feels worth trying and seeing if it works.
Come and help with the photographs. I was wrecked, Lee. I was wrecked after taking about 400 photographs at dusk till dawn. Did them in about, I want to say 20 minutes, but I dare say I've probably cut about 2 hours off of the whole thing. It was an education after not having done it for quite some time, running around so many tables. I mean, there are gaps I just can't fit into anymore, Lee. I'm ashamed to say.
Yeah, it's It's been a while, isn't it? So, but
God, yes.
It's always a good experience trying to get the photos done. So we are watching this final three of the final one of the week, and Matthias from Germany, Matthias Desses, can't be caught really. He's going to end up with 4 cashes for the week, and he's going to comfortably win leaderboard ladders by probably about 70 odd points. I think it's going to end up with. So
wow.
Matthias is a step 2. Player, so he's going to pick up 3 lots of $11 tickets for the win there. I think Nicholas Hawkins is going to finish second. He's a step 1. He's from the UK. Matty Ogilvie is going to be in the top 5 as well, I think, for the week.
Good job.
Kenny Hermansson only cashed in 2, and it was tonight with his 2 cashes. One win. He won the No Limit Hold'em main event and finished second in the deep stack. He's going to finish in the top 5. And I think, unless anything dramatic changes with the way order of these final 3, I've got a feeling that Tony Ross might well just have squeezed into the top 5 for the week.
Oh, good for him.
How does he do it? Brendan, you must have played against Tony a fair bit during leaderboard ladders in the past year. I mean, Tony's just been constantly up there picking up added value tickets and winning tournaments and cashing in tournaments. I mean, what do you make of his play online?
His results are incredible, right?
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. It's like, I mean, much like, I suppose, much like myself, if there's a certain amount of run good, let's be honest, because you could probably throw your cap over the gaps in ability with all the players that play in those online events. So, I guess I don't know. Maybe you just get a reputation and you get paid. People think you don't have it. You never have it. And, pretty much when a lot of chips go in, it's because you have it. So I suspect some of it is just reputation, where when the chips go in, they expect them not to have it because isn't that the natural way people look at somebody who's winning all the time? They think they're bluffing all the time, and it's strange. You can make some really big bets and get called quite lightly.
Well, you got to give him credit. He's obviously getting himself into some really good positions.
He's obviously doing a lot right.
Yeah, he's obviously doing a lot right.
Doing a lot right.
And absolutely,
I spent a lot of time at the table with Eddie.
Yeah.
Which
good lad.
Really, really interesting, because I had spent a lot of table time online with him during squads and the online leaderboard, and it was really interesting to spend like a day and a half with him. I actually got very lucky against him also, so there's a bit of a trend to this, isn't it? I got it in with jacks for less than 20 bigs against Eddie's queens, and managed to come out the right side of it. So, but he was very impressive over the day and a half, and it's like ridiculous when you get down to that stage that you get them in so good and then and come out the wrong side of it, can just you know, for all the good play you've done over a day and a half, it's just out the window.
I think you've got to have
a beat like that.
You got to have thick skin to be a poker player, haven't you, Brendan? Because you know we all remember the bad beats. Of course, we don't remember as often when we get a little bit lucky and stuff like that. I mean, you, in fairness to you, have actually remembered that a couple of times tonight. But yeah, you need to be able to handle the beat, right? Don't you? You need to be able to deal with that and move on.
Yeah, you need to understand that you're taking turns. You're gonna be the other side of it sometime.
Yeah.
So and not get. I think that's what the really good players do best is they take them in their stride.
Yeah.
Move on next hand.
Deal with the adversity.
My ace has got cracked, so
yeah, exactly. On. It's just a pair, right? It's just a pair. It's a pretty pair, but it's just a pair. Adam says, cheers for the nice comments all. Good bloke, Adam, I have to say. Good bloke.
I was thinking of Jerry yesterday, sat watching the rugby.
Yeah.
I was sat watching the rugby and I was thinking, oh my God, Jerry would have loved this.
Oh, I know. Well, I spoke briefly last night to Jer Jr. and Mary, because we are doing a little bit of a special on Jer, which will come up alongside his anniversary, which of course is next month. A lot of people have contributed little videos and stuff like that. We spoke to a few people in Nottingham as well, and I just wanted them to be comfortable with some of the pictures that we're using and stuff like that, which they were. I think they're, it's going to be very sad for them just hitting the anniversary. Of course, it's been a difficult year, but I think there's a lot of positivity from the family that Jer is still talked about and remembered as fondly as he is, and of course that'll go on for years. I doubt very much that will ever not be the case.
Yeah, what a character! What a character! A strange one. I was doing this room that I'm in here. I was doing a bit of a clear out last week. I was actually off work the week before last. Actually had COVID. Funny enough, I spent a couple of days with 300 people in poker rooms and managed to avoid COVID. And then some random event, I don't know even where or what, happened to catch COVID. So I was doing a bit of a clear out in this room here, and I threw a camera in the bin. And for some strange reason, I said, no, I'm going to take that camera back out of there and have a look. And had managed to get a battery charged up on it, and found a couple of photos of Jer in Villamura, O'Shea's.
Beautiful.
That became a bit of a regular haunt for a lot of APAT guys, and Jer and the crew. Myself, I spent a couple of days in there with them as well. I found 4 really nice photos of Jer at the bar in O'Shea's. It's I don't know, why did I take that camera out of the bin? Weird stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
I'd say the big man had me by the ear. Get out there to that bin, Brendan, and take that. Yeah, I did. I put them up on Young Jer's Facebook there to share with them. So nice memories.
Yeah.
We'll always have them.
I had a really sad moment. There was a little stream of his funeral, nearly a year ago now, of course, and there was a sad bit where the hearse had pulled up at the crematorium. Effectively, there was going to be a few words said, a nice little service, and at the hearse there was 2 pictures of Jer in alongside his coffin, his remains, and they were both beaming Jer pictures. I mean, what else would you have? And Jer's looking directly at the camera and stuff, and I felt it very strange indeed, because I took both of them. So this odd feeling of the man was probably looking at me, when these pictures were taken, and they were very warm sort of pictures, and that's how you remember Jer, right? He was just no ego. He was just one friendly man who seemed to get on with everyone. The first, his first comment often was, "What are you drinking?" Right? That seemed to be, and that just made its way into the heart of a lot of people at APAT over the years.
Yeah, the no ego thing is the bit that stands out for me about Jer. He definitely was no ego.
No.
Just love the crack and conversation.
Absolutely. Sadly missed, I have to say, very much so. On a brighter note, if you're into your horse racing, one Peter Wigglesworth is in the chat box. So looking forward to Cheltenham this week. Pete's going to be working hard in Reading, Slough and Oxford. Now, I know gambling on the horses isn't everyone's cup of tea, but some information which may be useful for those who do. So apparently Sky Bet are offering money back on your first bet. I guess there's going to be a lot of people doing this, right? Paddy Power are offering a free bet. The Daily Mail are giving free bet vouchers. I mean, Cheltenham is a major customer acquisition event for a lot of the online operations. So there'll be a lot of good value both in the newspapers and on the apps across the week. But be a racing enthusiast before you start popping money on those horses, because without knowledge, it's hard to make money on any betting event.
That, it's crazy to think 2 years ago, as we were going into kind of the whole COVID thing, and Cheltenham still went ahead.
It did.
But, that time it's quite
the
mad, really.
Super spreader event.
Yeah. It was the last.
I wonder whether they'll ever really get to understand how much those type of things in Liverpool against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Obviously United. We're playing Atletico next week. As to how much those events really kind of
we had a ridiculous one, because we had the Six Nations match with Italy postponed because of COVID, but still allowed all the Italians to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dublin. Yeah. I mean, only we can do it that way.
and Italy was extremely hard hit at that time.
That's right. It was the European centre of all things COVID at the time. Interestingly, I am going next week to the Gold Cup in Cheltenham.
Oh wow, excellent.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of sacrilegious, to be honest with you, because I am in no way interested in horse racing. So I
go and enjoy it.
I'm a little bit like this, because of these tickets would be better off going to somebody who's a horse racing fan. But it's actually my son's father-in-law's retirement party, and so it's a day down to Cheltenham on a steam train.
Wow.
Down to Cheltenham and a day at the Gold Cup. So
absolutely fantastic.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And to be honest, Brendan, I mean, you're probably going to get more from it than somebody who's a 15-year Cheltenham vet. It'll just be quite the experience to be there. And I'm sure you'll do some homework in the run up to it and have a little card that you fancy. But it's about the event, isn't it? And it's bloody nice to be able to go to an event. It didn't seem like that was going to be an obvious thing that we'd be doing, as recently as 3 to 6 months ago.
Yeah, I kind of feel bulletproof at the moment, given that I'm triple jabbed and just over COVID.
Yeah.
So
So
touch wood though.
Yeah, touch wood, please God, and all of that stuff. We're over the worst of that. Bring it on.
Well, we just saw the final game of the night. Tobias Körper from Germany beat his fellow countryman Matthias Ditter's heads up. Massive difference. It always is with these bounty tournaments. They both picked up $70 from the prize pool for finishing first and second, and then Matthias picked up $7 of bounty prize. Tobias picked $107 of bounty prizes.
Get him in.
Huge difference there, to say the least. So Andre Karpin from the UK finished third. As I mentioned, Matthias had already sewn up the leaderboard ladders win for week 51. So very well done to him. 3 lots of $11 tickets will be winging their way into your Party Poker account for this week. Very well done to Matty Ogilvie. He was a step fiver. He finished in the top 5, so he's going to pick up 2 lots of $55 tickets. Tony Ross is step 3. He's going to pick up 2 lots of $22 tickets. Richard Rudling Smith made it into the top 20. He's a step fiver, so he'll pick up some $55 ticket. GMAX also in there as well. Richard Drennan, Tobias from that win. That was enough for Tobias to scrape into the top 20. So we'll move up to step 2 next week. So it can sometimes be done if you pick the right tournament. You can get into the top 20 for just one cash. Just looking down to see where our guest ended up finishing. 56th on the leaderboard this week, Brendan, just the one cash. So unfortunately, we're gonna be taking one of those stars away and moving you down to step 4 for next week. But I'm sure it won't take long. I'm convinced. What do you reckon? What odds would you give, Des, on Brendan being back up at step 5 the week after next? Yeah?
I would give very short odds, Lee, because I remember as recently as 3 or 4 weeks ago, Brendan had consecutive weeks where he needed, I think, a 3rd place finish from way out in the final event to be able to score big, and he did it on both occasions. So if Brendan wants to be back at the top with a step 5, I'm pretty damn sure he can do it. Look at how relaxed he is there, Lee. He's just so relaxed.
He's already ready. He's ready to go for the new week. So next week will be week 52 of Leaderboard Ladders. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, my plan is after 52 weeks, just because it's a year or 52 decks and a card in the deck, whatever you want to call it, we're just going to shuffle up a little bit. So there's a few of the tournaments that we're going to change up. So the guys at Party Poker are going to get that implemented for me in the next week. So I'll pop more details on the Facebook group about that to let you all know what we're planning on doing, just to give it a bit of a refresh, because we have been running this for quite a while now with very little change to the schedule. So we will just shake it up a little bit for a couple of weeks' time.
Fantastic. Sounds like a plan, Lee. So let's do a bit of housekeeping. So first of all, thanks to everybody who played this week. Hope you had a great week. It starts all again tomorrow evening, of course, with the tourneys. Lee and I will be back next Sunday night. We may have a guest with us. I suspect we probably will. We'll certainly try to have a guest with us. It's always good when we have a guest on. Speaking of which, Brendan, thank you for spending an hour and a half with us tonight. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Sorry that we balked you hard. We've obviously balked you hard, but we look forward to the comeback, okay? Probably starting next week, I have to say. So with all of that said, and, a thank you here coming in from Simon. So thank you for the company, guys. Good night. Good night to you, Simon. Good night to everybody else. We will see you next Sunday night. Until then, au revoir, folks.
Have a good one.